Coming up next.
I see a million resumes a year, and some of them are amazing and some of them are garbage. The garbage ones are typically the ones where people type in the minimum required information into LinkedIn or Indeed and then download the PDF and send that off as their resume.
The Job Talk podcast shares stories from people who are passionate and love what they do in their careers. Through conversation, we explore their careers, past work experiences, and the education that got them to where they are now. We are putting together a Career Crisis Ultimate interview series. We are asking experts to give their best advice and guidance around work anxiety, career pressures, career goal setting, and ultimately, career transformation. To learn more about this special interview series and get notified when it's available, please visit our webpage at thejobtalk.com/help. This is the shortened version from our in-depth conversation. Please visit thejobtalk.com to find the full episode.
Today's guest is Trevor Baker. Here's our Job Talk with a recruiter. I'm curious to know how you get paid, though, because you work for a company. There's businesses that come to you that are looking to fill positions and roles. How does anyone make money in this business?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's actually one that's important for people to know as well as they have a relationship with a recruiter, because we often get asked if the candidate's required to pay us. And it's actually illegal for us to charge a candidate any service fees. That's a recipe for exploitation. So there's no service fee to the candidate in the relationship that we have with them. We get paid by the client. So the client, we're like going to the dentist a little bit for the client. They can often hire on their own, but sometimes they get into a situation where it's difficult or they don't know where to look. And they're not sure who to talk to, or maybe they're in a situation where they can't talk to the person they want to hire and they need an intermediary to broker that exchange. So they'll call us, and there's a service fee that they get charged for that purpose. And then that service fee that we charge them gets paid to the organization, and then that goes to the recruiter that works on that project.
What kind of advice could you give to somebody that is right at the beginning of researching making a job change?
So the best career advice I could give anybody, and this is a bit of a dated book at this point, but it's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The first habit is begin with the end in mind. So I mentioned earlier that people are often blown through their career where the winds take them. I'd say that's probably 70 to 80% of people's careers. They just end up where they end up. And that's not necessarily a bad thing if their skill sets and their competencies are being maximized and people say, hey, you do a great job at that, you should go do more of it, then that might work out great for them. For folks who are in an organization where they're there because the security is greater than the insecurity, they're often doing jobs that they've been moved into because they're available or their union rule puts them in there or whatever it is. And often they're misaligned completely and super dissatisfied, but the promise of the retirement package outweighs the immediacy of needing to be fulfilled at work every day, which is, that's a whole other conversation. But the advice I would give anybody who's not loving their job is to try and take the time to reflect on what it is you actually want to accomplish in your career and in your life. You spend the vast majority of your time at work every day. And if you hate what you do and it's not fulfilling, that's not a very fulfilling life. So taking that time to reflect on what you actually want to achieve or learn or develop or try and come up with a plan and a strategy that you can then put into play in order to achieve some of that is time well spent.
What could you say to that person that is just starting their job search?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to prepare to do the job search, after you kind of thought about what it is you're trying to achieve, the first step really is to create a resume. And the resume creation process, a lot of people view it as hard work, and it is, I guess, but it's also an awesome time to reflect on all of the things you've accomplished in your career. And I see a million resumes a year, and some of them are amazing and some of them are garbage. The garbage ones are typically the ones where people type in the minimum required information into LinkedIn or Indeed and then download the PDF and send that off as their resume. That's not really going to cut it. If you're serious about getting into any form of job search for any job, you need to spend the time reflecting on what it is that you've accomplished through your career. And this is valuable for a couple of reasons. One, you make a great resume out of it. And two, it really gives you the chance to kind of think about the things that you've been good at and liked and enjoyed and successful at in your career. And as you go through that process of reflecting on it and typing it all on your resume and making it look nice, it kind of cements those storytelling moments into your brain so that when you sit down for an interview with someone and they give you the old, tell me about a time when you did blah, 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 you can start to riff off all the stuff that you just spent hours thinking about how you were going to articulate it in your resume.
What's the best advice you could give to a person considering following your career path and becoming a recruiter?
Yeah, if you want to become a recruiter, have a hard think about how much stress you want in your life. The second thing is you need to develop a very strong ability to connect with people on a very short time frame and come to the table with a spirit of problem solving, authenticity, transparency, and trust. I would also suggest you need to have a fair bit of experience in sales. This job is a sales job fundamentally on both sides of the equation for the client and the candidate. You're trying to solve a problem, and that problem-solving process involves sales. And the process of managing all of the candidate flow is a sales process as well, because you have to keep a lot of moving parts kind of processing in a productive way, which is all part of the sales process. And I don't mean sales in the nasty, evil version of it where you're trying to exploit a situation. I mean it just in the terms of the algorithm of moving people through a system. So the sales process is critical to understand. I would definitely suggest taking some education related to psychology, sociology, coaching, training and development, leadership, human resources. All of those skill sets are invaluable to the process of dealing with people in corporate environments. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good summary of the things you'd want to think about adding to your basket of skills before you jumped into the recruiting world.
Thank you for tuning in to the Job Talk podcast. For more information, please visit us at thejobtalk.com. Our podcast music was created by our friend Mike Malone in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.